Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Zee Garcia. Hello.
Today we're taking a look at a small game, Ganz, schön, clever.
Ganz schön clever.
Now this one we were introduced to by someone who likes roll and write games because they know that I like them and Z wants to marry them.
I very much like them, but there are some that are not so good. I don't blanket statement like them because they're roll and writes.
True, but it's still a genre that when you hear it, you're like, oh, sounds interesting.
Roll and write, let me try it. Yes, absolutely.
And this game was just recently nominated for the Kennerspiel, which is like a gamer's game award in Germany. And so we had already played it and liked it and thought, hey, well, we were going to review it anyway. So be it. We had ordered it from Germany because we liked it so much. So I guess we're spoiling that. Here's how it plays.
To set up the game, all you need to do is put everything into place, give each player a marker and one of these sheets, and you are ready to go. The game is going to be played over several rounds depending on the number of players, and you are going to be rolling the dice trying to mark in different spots on the board in order to get the highest score possible. So let's say it's my turn, it's the first round. I take all of the dice and I roll them all. And then I pick one to place over here in the first spot of up to 3 possible dice I'll be taking on my turn. I can take any one of these, but for whatever die I take, anything lower than that is removed and put up here on the silver platter. So for example, I might take, let's say this 3 green. I would put it right there, and I would then activate that die, which means I'm going to mark something here in the green area. And these 2s and this 1 would go away. I would then roll these 2. Whoa, that's funny. There we go. I would take, let's say, the 3 blue and do something with that. And then the last roll, I would do that and take this one. Be aware if I had taken the 5 orange before I took the 3 blue, I don't get a third die because this one's removed. You don't normally want to do that. Once that's done, then you are going to... if you are not one of the active players, use one of the dice on the silver platter to mark something in, and then the next player becomes the active player. Everybody gets 1 go. That's 1 round, okay? And the game, like I said, it depends on the number of players, how many rounds you play. So here I have one of the sheets I used just now to play a solitaire game. I'll be using this one to help you understand how everything would go. And on the back, you would write up your score, which I got a pretty bad score on that one. So, going back to our scenario here, at the top of the scenario, I'm just going to run you through each of these and what they do, how you mark them in, and what scores you can get, what all the symbols mean. Okay, it looks like quite a bit at first, but it's actually fairly straightforward. So during the very first round, we would mark an X in the first round, and you immediately get 1 possible reroll where you circle in that spot. Anytime you want to use it, you cross it out, and you reroll every die in your currently active pool. So, I would roll. And this is my roll. Here are my possibilities. Let's start right here. If I take a 2 in yellow, I would cross out any of the 2s in the yellow area. So I could cross this one out, I could cross this one out. If I make a column, I get victory points. If I make a row, I get a little bonus that lets me, for example, put an X in the blue area, put a 4 in the orange area, put an X in the green area, score myself one of the foxes. I'll come back to them. Or this one over here, if I get the diagonal, I get +1 special power, so I would circle this in. That's how yellow works. Blue. If I take this 6 in blue, I would cross out the 6 in the blue area. And much like the yellow area, if I get the column or the row, I'm going to get a special bonus at the end of the game. For how many X's are in this area, I am going to get a number of victory points. So for instance, in my previous game here, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 X's in there. That got me 16 victory points on the back here. So blue, 16 victory points. However, when you take the blue area, you have to add the white die to it. So it would actually be a 7 if I chose to do this. And really, that would be a bad move because it removes everything from my active pool. But you always add, when you take the blue, you always add the white to it. Green, if I take the 2 green, I am going to write or check off rather a mark on the very next spot. These 3 at the bottom all work like a track. You must start over here next to the arrow and work your way over. And this requires at least a specific value on the die. A 2 would be enough because the very first spot just needs a 1 or higher, so anything will work. I would cross that out. For the next one, I need a 2 or higher, and so on. Once I get to this spot here, I get a +1 power up here. I'll tell you what these do in 1 second. Once I get all the way over here, I get a blue X. That lets me cross out any spot in blue, and so on for the other ones. And as you can see on my previous board here, I got all the way up to here, which gave me 15 points. You simply check above the last one you marked off. That's your score. Orange. If I take the orange die, I'm going to write that number in. So the last 2 tracks down here, you actually write in a number. And I would just write that number in. There is no necessary sequence or anything here. Once you mark in a specific spot that has an associated bonus, like this one, I get another reroll up here. Some of them have a ×2, so if by the time I hit that ×2 spot, I take an orange 5, I actually write in 10 victory points. And my score for the orange is all of that added together. And then lastly, purple. If I take the purple die, I'm going to write in a number on the next spot. But every number must be higher than the previous one until you take a 6. A 6 resets that sequence. After a 6, you may write anything. You can start from a 1 again. You can play whatever you'd like. And so if we go back to my original board here, I barely made any progress on that. But I wrote in a 2, then I wrote in a 3, and then I guess I couldn't roll or did not choose to get anything higher than that. And so my orange roll really did not do so well. And once again, there are bonuses associated with all of that at the bottom. The +1 right here means that you may take another die. So what that means is if I'm the active player, I can take another die from the set-aside ones. If I am not the active player, and this is what's on the silver platter, after I take one of them, I would then cross this off and take any one other die, even including one that the active player has. And in fact, if I am unable to use any of the dice on the silver platter, which is not common, but it does happen, then I could choose to take one of the ones that the active player has on their board. But again, this is first. I must do one of these as one of the passive players. And then if I cannot, I could choose to do one of these. Through this power, however, once I've picked one, and that everybody could use the same die, by the way, you don't actually remove it from there, then I could take another die and mark that in. The white die, I do want to mention, I said it gets added to blue, but it's also a wild die. So if I roll and I pick that 4 in white, I can actually use a 4 in any of the 5 areas. If I choose to say I'm going to use this in blue, I must still add it to the blue die. So the blue die will always add the white, and the white, when used as blue, will also add that blue die. This all continues with you getting some new bonuses throughout the rounds. So for instance, you get a +1 die power. That means, again, you can score an extra die. Another reroll. Over here in the 4th round, you either get to put an X anywhere you want to, or you get a 6. You get to write in a 6 in one of the 2 bottom rows. And then during the 5th round, which is just for 3 players there, or the 6th round, then you are going to get no bonuses for those. Once that's all done, you add up your scores, and the only thing I have not explained is how the foxes work. So depending on how many of those you unlock, and in fact in my play I only unlocked 1 right here in orange, you are going to score for each of the little fox heads your lowest score in whatever color is your lowest. So for instance, for me, I had 40 in yellow, 16 in blue, 15, 41 in orange, and 5 in purple. I had 1 fox, lowest score was 5, so that is also 5. If my purple score had been 12, then the fox would have been 12 as well. And in that scenario, if I had 2 foxes, I would get 12 plus 12 for 24 victory points. That's pretty much all there is to the game. The little bonuses, again, is sort of what makes all of this work in interrelated and interconnected ways. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward game of rolling dice, taking what you want, being careful you don't exclude too many dice to the silver platter as you are playing on your turn, and then passing the dice and taking one of the platter dice when you are passive and adding it somewhere in here. So there you go. Let's go back up top and let us tell you what we think of it.
Okay, so component-wise, the game is dice and
Very few components, of course. Now, the markers, I like the way they work. I'm just curious as to why they went ahead and gave us markers instead of simply pencils that don't dry out. I mean, they'll run out clearly, but so I don't know. I haven't had an issue with them so far.
you can do it a lot. I mean, your best bet with one of these is to laminate 4 of the sheets and just play that way.
If you want to go that way, sure. Yeah.
This is interesting for me because I keep waffling on the complexity of it.
Okay.
All right, so it was nominated for the Kennerspiel, and I thought that's way too light of a game. This is a family-style game. At the same time, it's one of the more involved roll and writes I've played, scoring-wise.
Yes.
You literally have I mean, the game itself is simple. Take some dice, use the dice to circle a thing on your sheet. You might re-roll. You might get you might take 2
Take
dice.
an extra die,
Right.
yes, right.
Those are your choices. It's just that if I finish here, I can do this, which lets me take this, which lets me take that, and that I think might throw new people off.
Sure. And again, the implications of what you take, what you leave, and those chain reactions, it's more than most roll and write games.
Yes. Which,
I don't know if that makes it, a family plus game, or if this could simply be a game for families. I don't think it's that complicated, The only thing I would say trips people up, and it still does a little bit when I teach the game, is the whole blue equals blue plus white. And white is wild otherwise, but if you say white is blue, then it's white plus blue. That sounds confusing? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay, I buy that. That's actually why I often stay out of the blue section.
Yeah.
But because of these different sections and because of the way the dice are rolled, it does give the game more variety than many of these roll and write
Sure,
games.
absolutely.
This is a game I think that I could play many, many times and not get bored of. Now, there's no theme. They don't even pretend in this game.
Which is fine. I actually don't mind that.
Oh, it's fine, I'm saying, but they don't pretend, so that's fine.
No. That's good. I'd rather have that than some pasted on, we are collecting sheep in the field, and this is the fence, and this is the sheep, and this is their food. No, this is fine. That wouldn't help teach anyway.
The dice thing is an interesting one I haven't seen before. Maybe you have, where whatever die you take, you get rid of the dice that are lower than it. I haven't seen that before.
I don't
and you give
remember.
those dice to other people. So it gives this illusion of some sorts of interactiveness. Not really, but when I play this, I will usually tell someone, you just give me garbage dice. And it's very possible to give people really good dice by accident or really garbagey ones. And I suppose the game could slow down to a crawl. And if you do this, I won't play with you. Where you look at everyone's sheets, figure out what they need, and try to deny them those dice. I've never played with anyone who does that.
No.
It's very solitaire, work on your own sheet. But you could, and there is that interaction of sorts because you're like, what dice is that person? Oh, no, don't use the yellow die. Come on, don't use the yellow die. I want to use the yellow die. You know what I mean? There's that aspect to it.
And I think most good roll and write games let you do something on your turn and then let you do something on somebody else's turn. If they have turns at all. There's many that don't have turns, where everyone's doing something every time dice are rolled. But most good roll and writes, and I would say this is a good roll and write, let you do something when it's your go and then something with the leftovers with someone else's turn. And the way it's implemented here works. It's clean, it's interesting, while still giving the active player much more engaging actions than when you are the passive player taking from the silver platter. Because it is a clever dice mechanism, this idea of rolling and then, that's a great, I need that number, that 5 in purple. If I take a 5 in purple right now, that nukes most of my dice. I can't do it. Just can't do that right now. I might re-roll, try to get more evenly matched numbers, but so that works well. you really don't want to take fewer than 3 dice if you can help it. That's just shooting your own foot off, you know. The areas and what they do, I think that works well. I think they all don't feel as equally difficult though. Like say the orange line, for example. You can always put a number in there.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about the colors do not feel equal. Yellow does not feel as good as the others. I love yellow.
Right.
It's my favorite one to do,
Right.
but it feels like blue and white's really strong.
I don't know. To me, blue doesn't feel as strong as yellow. I think yellow gets you victory points, right? Am I getting the colors right here? Hold on. Let's
No,
make sure.
green is the strongest, I think. Because you can get
yes.
66 points, and if the right green dice come up, it's one you don't have to think as hard about.
Sure, but I think yellow is stronger than blue, in my opinion, because blue. No, you don't think? You don't think
I'm
so?
agreeing
No,
with
that's
you.
fine. But orange definitely is the least punishing one. You can always put something in there, always.
But then there's the fox thing, which is interesting. So it makes you do a little bit of everything. If you're playing with someone who is good, and I have, if you don't get one of your lower scores up to a certain level, you're going to lose
Sure.
because they will outfox you.
Haha. At the end of the day, the coolest thing in this game, in my opinion, is when you are able to mark off a number, you know, cross off a spot in green that says put an X in blue, and then you go and put the final X in blue. That gets you a 5 in orange, and then you go down here to orange, and you put that 5 in a times 2, and that's 10 victory points.
That combo type thing.
That is where you once you're done doing one of those chains, you're like, yeah, you know, that feels great. And very few roll and write games give you that moment that is triggered by your actions and not because you got a great roll. I like that. You know, it might be again an illusion of you doing something cool, and I think it is really. It just sort of works out that way, but it still makes you feel cool, like you did something amazing. You know. One interesting thing I just read recently is that the designer said that this design was inspired by Imhotep.
Yeah, I read that too.
And I could kind of see that, right? Like, you know, it has a few different locations, and the way you scored each is different with the same stuff. Dice translate into different things in these different locations. I could see that. But Imhotep, which is interesting, got nominated for a Spiel, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, maybe that's why he was trying to get nominated for an award.
Yeah, maybe. No, but that got nominated for a regular Spiel. This is nominated for the Kennerspiel. If I'm not mistaken,
Again,
I might be wrong. It just seems like this is pretty
maybe
light.
this sheet here just looks complex.
That could be.
That must be what it is. But for me, overall, it was an enjoyable game. Doesn't take a long time. In fact, I prefer it with 4 players, the maximum number of players, because I like the idea of just that. Again, it's pseudo interaction, but it feels interesting, and
Right.
you are watching. It makes you watch what other people do. So I'm like, oh, you're rolling some dice? What you doing? Ooh, no, ooh.
Well,
That's sort of back and
with 4
forth.
players, you also play fewer rounds, so it does even out at the end of the day. For me, I really enjoyed it. It's a very engaging roll and write. It's one that's got more going on than most of them out there. This is near the top of the list for me for this kind of game. Now, there's other games that I'll likely pull out and teach to a new gamer, you know, before I bring this out, because I do think that part of it is a little intimidating. You know, there's a lot. I mean, like you said, the sheet looks a little intimidating, but with someone who is a fan of the genre, who understands, who is a gamer already, perhaps, this is a solid offering.
There you go. Ganz, schön, clever. I like it a lot.
Me too. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.